All right, everybody. Thank you. And thanks again for hanging in with us. I know it's kind of be a long day, but we appreciate you guys staying with us and hanging out and, getting to know each other. We're just going to take a moment one more time to thank Jimmy. And then we're just going to take one more time to get quiet. And the same thing, you guys can do whatever you want with that moment. Thank you. And with that, I've asked a friend to come up and read a little something before we get started.
Hey guys, my name's Katie. I'm an alcoholic. Steps 8 and 9 into action, page 76. Now we need more action without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. Thanks for letting me read.
Thanks, Katie. Real quick before we introduce our speaker, just because there was a lot of people that contributed, everybody give Katie a round of applause. She contributed food. All right, and please help me welcome our speaker on steps 8 and 9. Give a big round of applause and a warm welcome for Sammy B.
Okay. Whew. What's this here for? Oh. Sorry. Hey everybody, I'm a grateful alcoholic. My name's Sammy Bro. I don't even know where to begin. Katie said everything I was going to say. She took it right out of the book. I know, like Mary Beth said, I have a few stats to share with you. The first one is my sobriety date is July 29th, 1991. I have a home group. It's 6 days a week, literature-based meeting. I have a service position in that meeting. And I have a sponsor. His name is Ali H. from Toronto. So if you ever get the chance to listen on YouTube to ALI H, give yourselves a treat. I know it's my responsibility to share what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And it was awful. That's all I have to say about it. It was awful. Not in the beginning. The beginning was pretty nice. I'm one of those people that believe I was born an alcoholic. I think it's in the genes of my family for generations. And but I was never going to be like that. I didn't even know the word. I just knew that my mom and dad, stepfathers, multiple stepfathers, fought all the time. I could relate to when he said, 1 minute they're saying something nice, and the next minute plates are flying. And scared to death. I had a little brother that, I would try my best to protect him from them. And so we moved a lot. I have a father that I never knew. Her second husband adopted me. They split up, and she got married 4 more times after that. And I was so full of shame because of what she had done. Today, I don't feel that way at all. I don't blame her, not one bit. I've been able to make my amends, direct amends to her. years before she passed away. I'm so out of breath. Okay, where do I start? I want to start with, we moved a lot. I was never in the same school 2 years in a row until 6th and 7th grade. And I was the first family member that ever finished school, went to college. First member of my family to get to AA. And this is the only thing I've not quit. Everything else, I'm a quitter. I'm just a quitter, you know. I show up full of, what do they call it, vinegar or something? And then a couple months later, I'm bored out of my mind. I got to go. So anyway, I'm in high school. And, oh, God's coming in. I'm so glad. One day I was out in the parking lot putting flyers underneath the windshields for an upcoming event. And I'm aging myself, but at the upper end of the parking lot pulls this bright red 59 Chevy convertible. Hollywood flat top, suntan, drove into the parking lot right up next to me and said, "Hello, sweet pea." The papers went up in the air. I had my first spiritual experience. And, you know, I didn't know that I was alcoholic yet, but I do know that I go into relationships real quick. Like, what's the old saying about the second date? One of you has a U-Haul and a toothbrush. So I can relate to that. So anyway, Sweet Pea and I, we started dating, and, you know, we're going steady by probably the third week for sure. That's like a long time for people like me. And he introduced me to Coke 45 malt liquor and told me to drink it through a straw. Ladies, I'm here to tell you, don't ever do that because it causes pregnancy. So, this is a nice surprise that I think one of the reasons I'm teary-eyed is that pregnancy produced my oldest son, who showed up today to surprise me. So they're the kinds of things that amends do for us. And, you know, Sweet Pea and I, we stayed together for about 7 years, I guess. Got pregnant with my second son. And what was I going to tell you about? Oh, one time we played it. We were with other couples, and we were playing that newlywed game. And they asked us, give us a name of a book or a movie that describes your relationship. Well, I'm the lover. So I say, love is a many splendid thing. Sweet Pea says, gunfight at OK Corral. So we were mismatched from the beginning. We both came from alcoholic homes, and we made a promise to each other that our kids were going to have the same mom and dad all their life. And unfortunately, alcohol had other plans for both of us. And that marriage ended. And I'm a lot like my mother. So while I was drinking, I never had a DUI. Never. But I had 4 MUIs. Now, an MUI is married under the influence. And I didn't know if the day would come that I would have to tell my story. I would have paid better attention while I was having it. But I got some blank spots. And anyway, the drinking progressed. Neither he nor I could stay faithful. We both cheated. I got married again, but what happens to me is, it's like 4th of July. You know, in the beginning, it's all fireworks. And then it fizzles out, and you think, what the hell just happened? It's all gone. So I did it a third time. And then I did it a fourth time. Because damn it, I'm going to make it work. Because I'm the director. And that didn't work out too well. I did my first of all, I did my third step on my knees with my sponsor. And that was awesome. And then immediately, she had me working on 4. So when it was time to listen to my 5th step, she said a prayer, asking God to come into her house, help her say a solid message, help Sammy say what she needs to say to get a little bit better, and help me forget everything she shares. And that impressed me to no end, because I didn't want to share this stuff with her. I had so much shame. And so we're walking into her den, and on the way, she says to me, "So, what's that secret you're going to take to the grave?" Well, I spit it right out. And in hindsight, it's kind of silly. I stole the Sunday school collection when I was 8 years old. But see, that was God's house. And I really, it was all right to, have affairs, but don't steal money out of God's house. So she said, "Well, now that we got that out of the way, let's do your 5th step." You know how it says in the book at the end, get quiet, take an hour? She didn't trust me. She put me in her spare bedroom. And I guess she timed me. I'm not sure. I don't remember that part. But that was a good experience for me. I got rid of a lot of things that I hadn't shared with anybody. And the good news is, and hopefully you may have this experience too, she started sharing with me some of the things that she had done. And I thought, wow, instead of loving her less, I loved her more. And so that was that. Then we go on to 6 and 7. And I don't have any defects of character. I'm like Jim. If you guys would just listen to me and do as I say, I know what's best for everybody. In the meantime, I'm going down the toilet and fast, and everybody else is going on with their life. One of the heartbreaking things for me, and this is a perfect step to discuss it, is, like I said, Butchie and I said, that's Sweet Pea's name, thought that we were going to stay together forever for our kids. And as it turned out down the road, our kids were separated. He took one and I took one. So the damage for those 2 boys, I had my brother to hold on to when I was going through alcoholism with my parents. They didn't have each other to do that. We made sure they were together on the weekends and, a week in the summer, back and forth, stuff like that. But they were 2 of the first people I made amends to. And today, I make a living amends every day. Today, I can be the mom they deserve. Today, I care about them more than I care about me, which hasn't always been that way. I'm very self-centered. I'm very selfish. And that's been a hard thing to get rid of, no matter how much I pray. And some days I'm good about it, some days I'm not. I think I was so nervous today because I've kind of been in like a slump for the last probably 8 years, 7 for sure. I lost my husband. It'll be 7 years in April. My kids are grown and gone. And now I'm left with Sammy. No buffers. Nobody to cook for, nobody to holler at, nobody to blame, nobody. It's just me and myself. And I got very depressed. So I have a sponsor who, no matter what's going on, the first thing he says, go to God. Go to God. And Even as far as me speaking here, I kept saying, God, are you sure? Yes. I pray again. Are you sure I have to go there? Yes. I mean, my knees are shaking. That's how nervous I am. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. That happens when you're old, too. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh, now I know about Are You Sure? Oh, that. Okay. Okay. I've obsessed about this for over a month. I go to bed thinking about steps 8 and 9. I wake up thinking about 8 and 9. I read the literature. I pray some more. It's like, why'd they pick on me? I'm exhausted. So I'm going to sleep good tonight. I am going to sleep good tonight. Yes, I am. You know, I always felt like a nothing. I had God in my life when I was a kid, thanks to my grandmother. She took me to Sunday school and church most Sundays. And she taught me that Jesus loves me. This I know. I held on to that for a long time. And then when I became a teenager, I got really angry at God. Things were a mess at home. I didn't want to be there. I hated my parents. And I remember one night just crying out and saying, God, why did you make me be born? I'm such a mistake. And I held on to that for a long time. So I swapped God, not for Colt 45. I was a lady, so I'm drinking Tanqueray gimlets in a stem glassware because my mom drank beer, and I'm not going to be like that. So, you know, the denial was incredible that I had. And I stayed away from God for a long time. So, fast forward, I guess the best thing I want to say is my trip to AA was not the norm. When I went to treatment, I fell in love. You were my people. You're the first ones that understood me. You didn't criticize me, judge me. And I didn't want to leave that facility because I felt safe in there. And I had to come out. I'm a husband number 4. He has 2 daughters, so I have stepchildren. And we drank daily. At Harry, I'm going to do a plug for Harry's Savoy Grill on Naaman's Road. Their phone number is 302-475-3000. In case you're ever in the area. I got a story about that place too. But anyway, I'm really working hard on the steps. You know, and because I had low self-esteem, I don't think I'm doing any of them right. You know, everybody else is so much better than I am. You know, when Jimmy was talking about the bicycle, I thought, God, I'm standing up there with a bicycle with training wheels. I feel like a newcomer. And sometimes it's really good to feel like a newcomer because you don't get comfortable. You keep on working. I have the privilege of sponsoring some awesome women. And they keep me straight. And I don't know what I would do without them. You know, it's being on my own, by myself pretty much, is very different from anything I've ever been used to. So adapting and grieving has been hard. But I really feel now I'm coming out on the other side. This year was bad because Wayne's birthday was the 12th of February. Valentine's Day was right behind it. So I was a puddle, you know. But I allow myself to do that, you know. I allow myself to feel these feelings that I stuffed for years and years and years. I didn't want you to know who I was. But I know when I drink, the more I drink, the prettier I get. The more I drink, the better I dance. The more I drink, here comes another husband. The more I drink. Today, all the men in my life are doctors. That's it. Yep. But there's a meeting on Friday nights up in Lanneberg. And it's a step 6 and 7 meeting. And the topic is, what character defects kicked your ass this week? And so I'm sitting in the same room where I stole the little Sunday school collection, in the little tiny chairs, and this old timer was there, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, Francis, I owe this church an amends. Why? So I told him what I did. I stole the Sunday school collection, and there was a little country store that had penny candy. So I'm getting penny candy for all my friends so they would love me. I've been buying people like that all my life. I would spend money that I didn't have on things I didn't need. I'd spend them on you so you would love me. That's where self-will takes me. I don't ever want to go back to where I was, ever. And, when Wayne passed away, I couldn't stay in the apartment. I went in like a nut, like a typical alcoholic. I sold everything. Moved to the beach, bought all brand new, wasted so much money. Now I'm hurting. Because I ended up back here anyway. Because wherever I go, there I am. I take my thoughts and my feelings with me. And my dream is just to be a loving child of God. He's taken me through so much. When I first got here, I filed bankruptcy. I had $43,000 worth of credit card debt. And my buddy Harry, he was on that list up at the Savoy Grill. I would, I wouldn't just buy you a drink, I'd buy you dinner. And then we just kept charging it. Well, I stayed away from Harry's the first 10 years of my sobriety, so I was too ashamed to go in there. So Wayne's retirement party was at Harry's. Now I gotta go. And Xavier, the owner, was there. And I asked him if I could talk to him for a minute. He said, yeah, what's going on? I haven't seen you. I said, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but you were on my bankruptcy petition. And I said, what can I do to make it right? And I was hoping he wouldn't say pay in full. But I said, what can I do to make it right? And he said, pay when you're here. Pay next time. So I do that. I've been back since. No more shame. No more guilt. It's so freeing when you're willing to do the right thing. I had a list of the people that I needed to make amends to. I had a wise sponsor who gave me 3 columns. Ones that I'm willing, ones that maybe, and I have one person on the no never. And as God would see fit, the person on the no never was one of my first amends. She and I worked together. We were in such competition, both of us very immature. She worked for the CEO of the company. I worked for the president. And the bottom line is we were just jealous of each other. There was enough work for both of us. I don't know why we felt we had to fight. We always do one up on each other, And but she could make me feel, or I let her, make me feel so bad. I would go to work in a $200 suit, $100 pair of heels. So I was Gucci on the outside and Goodwill on the inside. And that's not me anymore. Today I'm either Gucci or Goodwill. But it it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not into all that designer stuff. And, anyway, a living amends to my husband Wayne. He died at home. He had 2 different lung diseases. He couldn't breathe. And it was so nice to be there with him, with his last breath. Today I prayed to him and I said, you know what, buddy? I wish you could come back just for 3 days so I could treat you like you deserve. All the work I've done, I know I'd be a better wife. I did get married once sober. I highly recommend it. I do. I met Wayne in AA, and boy meets girl on campus, and another spiritual awakening. We eventually got engaged, and then we got married. And I'm so grateful, as much as I miss him, that God saw fit to give us almost 27 years together. For a gal like me, that's a Guinness Book record right there. Yep, that's where I belong. Because see, when I don't drink, and I can stay out of my head, I really do have good morals and values. But you put the liquor in my system, all bets are off. I remember one time, my youngest son had a paper route, and my head said, he's almost 12 years old. He goes around and collects money, and he's responsible. So I'm just going to leave a note and let him know where I'm going. And if he needs me, he could call. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, I went. I took that first drink, closed that place, went to an after-hours club, and then to this person's house. And I came home the next morning with the birds, unlocked my apartment door, and my son was sitting at the dining room table with the police. He woke up late at night scared because I wasn't there. He got on the phone, remember the cord phone hanging on the wall? He picked up the phone, dialed 911, and he said, my mommy's MIA. And if that happened today, they would have taken him from me. Should have taken him then. And I'd like to tell you I quit drinking at that time. I was scared, so I drank at home for a little while. And then, 3 weeks at home's enough. Out I go. So I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, so I'm zigging and zagging, but it's okay. And they say, take what you like and leave the rest. How about that? What you see is what you get. Let me get back to my amends list. I did the church. That was pretty easy. Well, anyway, I wrote it at the night at the church when I said to Francis, I owe this church some money. This is how cool God is. I said, I'm going to write him a check. Where can I put it? Nobody was there but the AA meeting. And he said, well, let's take it in and put it on the altar. I said, that's a good idea. So as we're walking towards the sanctuary, I hear this vacuum cleaner. And we open the doors, and there's this lady vacuuming the sanctuary, sees us and says, hi, may I help you? And I told her what I was there for, that I made amends to the church and I wanted to donate this money. So I gave him $50. I figured that would get me in good with God. And what do you think she said? I'll be glad to take it. I'm the bookkeeper. So I said, God knew she was going to be there and that I was going to make this amends, I guess. So I did that one. Another one, I drove to Newport, Pennsylvania, right above Harrisburg. I used to go to school there, and at lunchtime I was in charge of selling the ice cream. Well, I'm a thief. So I helped myself to money. And, you know, it's not a lot of money back then, but still, it's the idea. And this guy, Victor, I would take the first half hour, he would take the last half. So when they realized they came up short, they blamed Victor, and I let him. You know, I thought, got away with that one. Now it's time to make amends. I drive all the way to Newport, Pennsylvania, go to the school, into the principal's office, tell them who I am and why I'm there. And I wrote another check. I apologize. I was never allowed to say I'm sorry. My sponsor told me I was sorry for the space I took up, that everything was about Sammy saying she's sorry. But I didn't change the behavior, you know. So I was taught that I have to say, what can I do to make this right? And this wise secretary said, we have a fund for girls who want to go to the prom but don't have the money to buy a gown. Would you like to donate to that fund? I said, absolutely, I would. And I've been donating to that fund every year since I went up there. I don't even know what year it was. So the one amend I really want to talk about was the hardest one I've ever made. I thought it was because of shame. But after listening to everybody today, it's pride. It was pride. I used to work for my uncle. He owned an apartment complex. And I was the resident manager. I worked there for several years or so, and he just didn't appreciate the caliber of work. I do. So every so often, I would give myself a raise. I had a real system going. He never caught me. I didn't think. Well, anyway, I got to AA and I told somebody that story, and I said I gave myself a raise. They said, no, that's embezzlement. I thought that could call for jail time, but it didn't. So I love those two people, and I did make a general amends to both Aunt Jewel and Uncle Al for being a lousy niece. They were so good to me and my kids. And but I wasn't honest. And I walked away from there, and it didn't fit right in my heart. So I wait some more time. Uncle Al gets very sick. He passes away. So I go to the cemetery on Kirkwood Highway, find his stone, and I say, Uncle Al, here's what I really did. You trusted me so much, and I was so untrustworthy. And I stole this money to give myself a raise. And when I told my sponsor about that in my fifth step, how I'd taken the money, she said, well, how much did you take? I said, I don't know, it was in 1965, 66, probably $2,000 total. She said, well, we're going to make it 3. Thanks a lot, sponsor. If you don't get mad at your sponsor once in a while, you got the wrong sponsor. So 3,000. When I told him what I did, I sat there and just listened. And eventually I heard, be kind to Julie. And I tried, take her to the doctors, take her to the grocery store, whatever she needed. But she'd much rather go, especially with my oldest son. He is better looking, so I get that. So I'm doing those things. I know what it means when they say half measures avails us nothing. By the time I got right with that amends, I was at least 14 years sober. And I used to go to a lot of roundups and things, and I fell in love with this guy named Scotty. And I called Scotty one day, and he came down to Wilmington. We went to a park. And, one alcoholic talking to the other. And it was a beautiful thing. So, we made arrangements, or we talked about it anyway. Didn't you say Uncle Al had a partner? Yeah. He's alive. I don't like him. He's filthy rich. He doesn't need my little money. And you gotta go and make it right. So I was at Dunkin' Donut. I had called Harry and asked him, I said, there's something weighing heavy on my heart. I'd like to come talk to you. Sure. Well, he stood me up. We were going to meet at Dunkin' Donuts. He stood me up. However, another AA member came in who apparently used to do his lawn work. And I told him what I was about to do, and he said, that's SOB. You don't have to make amends to him. I said, oh, God is good. So I get back and I call Scotty. I said, I don't have to make that. Oh, yes, you do. So I waited some more. Finally found the courage to go to Harry's house. Uncle Al didn't have a whole lot of education, but he read constantly. So I gave him a copy of the big book, because he was really interested. Aunt Jewel got sick, and he went to Mass every morning, and he said to me, why do you go to a meeting every day? I said, why do you go to Mass every day? He said, I'm afraid not to. I said, me too. This is where I belong. You really are my people. And so I'm at Harry's house. And he opens the door. And I notice he has this smirk on his face. Not a real grin, just kind of a half one. So I go in. And he said, so what's up, kiddo? I said, Harry, when I worked for you and Uncle Al, I used to give myself raises. And they weren't a whole lot, but it was good enough for me at the time. And what do I need to do to make it right? I said, my sponsor had me working on $3,000. I worked at a shelter. I left that part out. I worked at a homeless shelter at the time, and I did try and make the financial amends. I asked my boss to hold $50 every paycheck. I donated it to the shelter, for that monetary amend. So anyway, he's smirking. And he grabs an envelope off he had like this little desk built into the kitchen. He grabs this envelope, hands it to me, and right away I noticed my Uncle Al's handwriting. And I open it up, and there's a note, like a post note, and it says, Harry, Sammy made amends to Julie and me. If she keeps doing what she's supposed to do, hopefully the day will come she'll make amends to you too. However, if she doesn't, this should cover it. And there was a check. Guess how much? $3,000. And I donated it to Sojourners. And for the first time ever, I felt free. No more skirting the issues. No more, manipulating. And I held on to that for so long And I couldn't figure out why I would go through these stages of not feeling spiritually fit. You know, I'm reading the literature, I'm praying, I'm going to meetings, I'm in service, but like I was a fraud. You know? So I tried to do it right. And it left me. And I know there's some other amends I wanted to talk about, but I wrote them on a cheat sheet and I forgot it. So I'm sorry, I can't really share anymore with you, but I'll say one thing about steps 8 and 9. You know, I got honest with my sponsor when I did 4 and 5. When I did 7 and prayed, I really did want God to remove the things from me that blocked me from helping his kids. And my list was, I had 4 marriages, drinking. So I had in-laws, outlaws, husbands, aunts, uncles. It went on forever. And I'm here to tell you that I did make amends to each one of those guys. You know that song, All My Exes Live in Texas? Mine all lived in Wilmington. I didn't have to travel very far, but when I met Sweet Pea, I was going into the bank, and he pulled up in his truck, saw me, and he said, I know where you've been going. I said, where have I been going? I think you're going to AA. We're out in the parking lot, nobody around. I think you're going to AA. I said, I am, and I love it. And while you're here, I need to follow through with some of my step work. I ran through your life like a whirlwind. We were 2 kids raising 2 kids. What did we know? Nothing. And it was actually my boys that suffered for that. And we try to make it good now, as best I can. So they've all passed now, except one. I don't know where he is. But I highly recommend get married when you're sober. And probably not in your first year. And these were things my sponsor told me. Oh, I remember one time, like I didn't date, I left my ex-husband, I'm staying separated because I don't trust myself. I go get married, that's what I do. So I just stayed separated. Oh, for probably 1.5 years. That's a long time. And I called her up one night and I said, Beth, I'm ready. She said, you're ready for what? I said, I think I'm ready to date. Oh, really? Well, listen, young lady. You just get all gussied up. I'll come pick you up, and I'll take you straight to detox, because that's what you pick every time. I'm sorry I didn't read much out of the big book to you, but just was too nervous. And I hope there was somebody in here that I helped. Just one. I don't have to help the masses. I used to think I did. I had such an ego. And I try to be transparent, tell you the truth. When I'm good and when I'm bad. You know, I'm a Bill Wilson. I suffer from depression from time to time. And 2 years ago, it really grabbed me good. Never once did I think of a drink. I stayed close to God, called people in the program. Even when I didn't want to. I didn't even want to get off the couch. But I'd call anyway. And everything comes to an end. And eventually that went away. So I'm hoping it doesn't come back. I keep my nose in the literature. Pray all the time. I pray all through the day, and they're not necessarily formal prayers. But I believe in my heart God hears me because I'm here. He's watched over me all my life. So I want to end with this. Maybe not. I thought I knew. Oh, here it is. I think. No. Bear with me, I'm just trying to kill time. Forget it. What I want to leave you with, especially if you're new or you're struggling, if you do these steps and not take half measures, if you're painstaking about this phase of your development, every one of those promises has come true for me. You know, I hope I live in the sunlight of the Spirit. Some days it's cloudy, but at least I try. And I do the best I can on any given day. And so many of my friends came to support me, which blows me away. And I don't have to make any amends today. Not a one. And I'm grateful. You know, God separated me from alcohol on July 29th of 1991. I became my mom. I was fighting with my ex-husband and became violent, and I chased his oldest daughter out of the house, and I really wanted to hurt her. But I'm a lover, I'm not a fighter. I scared that young lady to death. She jumped in her car, locked the door, and went to her mother's house. You know how it says how the guilt and the remorse sets in, and as soon as I did that, I felt so bad. So I called Nancy and I said, hopefully Nikki's on her way to your house. Please just love her. And I called the therapist that I had been seeing the next day. And I said, Doris, you've got to put me away. I'm crazy. I had no idea it was booze. Honest to God. And I ended up in Charter Fairmount in Roxborough. I stayed there for 35 days. And when they interviewed me, I was still blaming everybody, you know, especially my parents. And I said, I'm either a paranoid schizophrenic or I have a split personality. And the doctor says, sugar, with your history, we just think you drank too much. You have this disease we call alcoholism. And I surrendered right there on the spot. And I did everything they asked me to do. I would have stayed there 100 years. I felt so safe. And I had a temporary sponsor by the time I left. I was at a meeting the very day I came home. I used to do, there were times I would do 13, 14 meetings a week. And my first sponsor said, you're hiding in AA. I said, I'm not hiding there. I run to it. I love it. She said, but you're avoiding your family. You have to change. They deserve to have a mom and a wife. So I cut back on the meetings, and it was so hard to change my behavior at home for the longest time. But eventually it worked out, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful she told me that. I wasn't too happy at the time, but I'm just grateful now. So anyway, if you're painstaking about this phase of your development, you're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Just keep doing the work. Plug away one day at a time. God bless.